This video is actually about dynamic stretching, but if you don't like warm-ups, then stick around until the end of the video, because there's one way of dynamic stretching that is almost like a substitute for your warm-up, and you can start practicing right away. So I'm AJ from the DigiDojo.com, Chief Instructor for Waterkai Holland and Kenshikai Kobudo Europe, and I'm here to explain to you 3 ways of how to do dynamic stretching. Now on top of that, I will also introduce you to dynamic stretching, and I will let you know how to hack your system. Literally hack your system. And by your system, I mean how your brain is programmed, what your body does, how your body works. We are going to override that system. That's what I'll teach you in this video. So that being said, let me explain to you again what dynamic stretching is. So dynamic stretching means that you're going through the full range of motion without stopping. So that means you're constantly moving. You are actually executing a movement, but in a very controlled manner. Now, control doesn't mean that it has to be very slow, but it has to be controlled. So don't make explosive movement. Don't suddenly stop your movement or make jerky movement. You have to make sure that whatever you do is very controlled and precise. So the first one that I want to explain to you, that is leg raises. Leg raises. In other words, you can raise your leg straight, you can raise your leg to the side, and you can throw your leg back. Those are the 3 ways. And obviously you can bring them from inside to out and outside to in. But in this video, I'm going to limit myself to those 3. Front, side, and back. Now, when you do that, it is very important to start doing it gradually. So what does it mean not to make jerky movement? Jerky movement would be, that all of a sudden you do something, or your trajectory of your leg is not correct. In case this is my leg, I just have to move it like that. And maybe you have to do it a little bit faster, but no, not faster than this. And that is, especially in the beginning, a safety measure. And that is also how we are going to override our system. So when you do this, you want to start low. So I always tell my students, when we're going to raise our leg high in front of us, just start low. And especially if you have very tight hips, if you have a tight hamstring, if you raise it, you already feel your hamstring, start really low. So don't take any risk, just lift it maybe knee height or hip height, depending on your flexibility, and then gradually go up. So this is the first one, right? These leg raises. Remember, start low, gradually move up, and make very controlled movement. Now there's one tweak to this one, but I'll save that to the end of the video. Let's move on to number 2. Okay, so number 2, that's walk out on your hands. So you're just gonna put your feet together, touch the ground, walk forward with your hands until you're all stretched out like that, and then simply let your feet move up, then get up and get into that same position. That is another way to do dynamic stretching. Now, why am I limiting myself to these 2 examples? Because first of all, I can make a list of, maybe if I go all out, I can make a list of 10, 20, maybe 50. I don't know how far I can go. But the idea is, and that is what I'll teach you in the next example, that you understand what dynamic stretching is. Simply the concept of not stopping, moving from the beginning to the end of the range of motion. That is all dynamic stretching is. And that's where we come to the 3rd one. The 3rd one, and that is the one that you want to know if you don't like warm-ups, it is basically just executing a technique, but exaggerated. This one I will demonstrate. For example, when you do Gyakuzuki, maybe this is where you will stop in basics, right? This is maybe where you will stop. But when you do this kind of dynamic stretching, maybe you want to reach completely, right? Completely move through the range. And you can see that in this manner, I am completely stretching my body. I am really reaching out. So in this way, you can practice your techniques while you warm up using dynamic stretching. Then as your body temperature goes up, if you start feeling that heart rate going up, that's when you can start adding explosive movements. So those are the 3 things in this video. But remember, I told you about this hack that we can sort of override our system. Now here's the thing, when you're going to do your leg raises, it is obviously good to have a target, right? You have your hand there. If I don't have my hand there, maybe my leg will come this high. But if I have my hand here, I am challenged to make sure that I touch my hand with my leg. Now, if you're a teacher, just make sure your students don't do this, right? Because that would be cheating. But also, it wouldn't help to override the system, because here's how it works. Your muscles can do two things in types of safety, right? Your muscle can basically do one thing, and that's contract. But in this case, just imagine the following. Your body, it is set up to protect you. So when your muscle is in danger, your muscle has two ways of coping with that danger. Number one is contracting, to make sure that you cannot move any further, preventing your muscle from being damaged. And that is actually the problem when we want to stretch, because as we go to the end of the range of motion, your muscle is going to contract and tell you, don't go any further because that's dangerous. Now the other thing is the opposite. It is the muscle starts to relax more. Or in other words, it'll contract less. So either your muscle is in danger and it will contract, or your muscle is in danger and it will relax so that it cannot snap. These are the two mechanisms that your body uses to protect you. Now, we can override this by putting out your hand. And I was actually very surprised when I read this in one of the books that I studied. But this man, he explained, if you put your hand out there, it said that your body knows that your leg is going to touch something. And because your body knows there's a safety already there, your muscle doesn't have to contract to protect it, because the obstacle will protect it. Now, I don't know the exact details, but I know it works because I tried, and I recommend you to do the same. Now, with that being said, there is one more thing, and it's not a small thing, it is a very, very big thing. And that is extremely counterintuitive, but it's exactly the one that I started the first video with. Where I was like, I could touch my toes, I could do almost the splits in 30 days of training, and that is because I applied that specific technique. Now, I won't leave you in the dark. In fact, that is what the whole next video is all about. So the next video, that's a counterintuitive way, and I mean really counterintuitive, that you can apply to your static stretching. It is that last missing link that you can apply to your stretching to really get a lot of gains in a very small amount of time. I'm looking very much forward to seeing you in the next video.